Welcome, everyone. Another conversation with, today we're going to be joined by Jon Sica with Batteries Plus Bulbs. Very much looking forward to this discussion. One of the topics that Charles and I have touched on is some of the pivoting that's going to happen in an industry standpoint that on the other side of this, the term essential business might actually go higher friendly business, which has been a term in franchising. So I'm looking forward to getting into that side of the discussion. We're continuing to get great feedback on the various channels that people are finding these videos. Again, the hope is that if there's just one human being out there that we can impact and give you some insights, great. While Charles and I are doing the leading on this, we would love for you to put any comments or questions that you want answered in the comment section. You can find it on both the Franchise Growth Mastermind private Facebook page or the 1851 Franchise Facebook page. We're live streaming onto both of those. And then obviously it goes up on YouTube when things are done. But want to jump into things fairly quickly. Jon, thanks for spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I would love the same thing that we ask everyone, just like state of your mind, where are you at mentioning this personal and franchising? What's going on through your head these days?
Even though I'm primarily on the sales side, being the head of development, my focus has been 100% on, helping our franchisees through communications, through strategies, by, sharing the stories that we're hearing in the field, the stories we're hearing from our commercial sales team, and making sure that information gets far and wide. And, we joke that every day feels like a week, every week feels like a month right now, and we're trying to keep that perspective, and just by relentlessly communicating, because even if communicating every other day isn't enough right now, it's got to be every single day, and that's what we come every day. A few of us are still able to come into the office here in Wisconsin, and that is our prime focus.
Jon, the one thing we're seeing is that this is a stress test for many businesses. And on the positive end, setting aside the negative, brands are learning new things about their business and the opportunity, right? So what are you guys now learning that's new about your business and really the pathway ahead for opportunity you may not have appreciated in the past?
And you mentioned it in the intro, being an essential business. So it wasn't we always knew we were a needs-based business, and the products that we sold were essential to daily life. It really through this process and learning, through the government designations, through the CISA, and what they deem as essential businesses, that we fall into those categories. It's been huge for us, and through this crisis, it has made all the difference in keeping our ability to keep stores open. In any given, we've only had on average 10 stores closed at any one time through this crisis, and out of 730 plus. And so we're proud of that. And as we think to the future, playing into the essential categories that we know we're playing in right now, especially commercially with some of our clients like hospitals, and also supply chain and distribution. We've seen a huge surge in need for batteries supporting those businesses, and it's definitely going to continue to be a theme in our business for many years. And I think it's something that as the country won't forget what we're going through right now for a very long time, and we're not going to forget that piece of our business or let that slide, for many years to come, because that'll continue to be something I'm talking about when we're talking to new franchise candidates, and something we're talking about as we're developing strategy for our current owners and supporting them as well.
Jon, if I think back to all the franchise conferences I've gone to, the same question would pop up, what's new in franchise development? And the same answer would be not much. And So I feel like in franchising, we've been navigating without a proven blueprint for a long time on the sales side. Obviously, we look at the fundamentals of a brand, such as the strength of product, the vision and leadership, the ROI, how much to get in, how much can I make, can I open in the territory that I want to, and obviously the importance of validation. So understanding that the blueprint on how to take that and package it has somewhat been complex for many years, because if it was figured out, franchise sales folks wouldn't go to conferences and ask that question. Where I want to go with this is, obviously, you guys being a legacy brand, you've gone through the .com bubble and burst. You went through September 11th. Now you're going through this. And I would imagine each situation in the history of the company, you end up being an essential business, but also the blueprint for you guys probably starts getting created. So I would love for you to flash back to, say, the first week of March, where we're seeing that this is going to be a reality. What is going through your guys' mind as a leadership team, and how are you starting to prepare to support the franchisees a month ago?
As we were looking at that, and honestly, what we went through last year about this time with tariffs was a good dry run, if you will, for this current crisis. And honestly, a lot of the actions we took during that time as tariffs were going in place, to move product out of China, to move things to countries with a more friendly tariff rate, helped us out tremendously on the early stages of this crisis, because we knew our supply chain was solid. And as we got into March, knowing that our supply was solid, as things began to take a turn, it became about the strategies we've been implementing on the we're an interesting concept from the standpoint of we're both B2B and B2C. And so focusing on, even if retail traffic gets impacted, what can we do? And the answer is, commercial. Businesses are, essential businesses. We have 9 categories of businesses. We call them the Nifty 9, that include things like hospitals, municipalities, first responders, that we knew would be active through this. And our sales coaches started making double the amount of calls on a daily basis to help prepare our owners, and also focus reporting out of Salesforce, focus reporting out of our data warehouse, to begin to provide our franchisees with the information and data they need to go out there. Since we have a combination of single and multi-unit, and we have larger owners that have dedicated sales staff, inside sales reps, and we have single unit owner operators that are doing it all themselves. And so trying to make sure the rising tide lifts all boats, and helping everyone on each end of the spectrum. As we the crisis really escalated with the declaration of the national emergency, it was all about how do we continue to serve customers. And this it isn't really a financial decision. Our CEO said it's the right thing to do for our customers, to make sure they have what they need to keep on going, whether it's working from home or whether it's continuing to stay open and serve patients in a hospital.
John, I'm curious. So one of the things we've been talking about also is how after this shift, the pool of potential franchisees are going to grow, not from the traditional standpoint of a negative economy, but individuals that typically would focus on entrepreneurship and not franchise ownership will now reevaluate franchise ownership. I'm curious, on the B2C, on the B2B level, I would imagine some of your competitors are non-franchised operations. Has the franchise model given you any advantages on the B2B level?
Certainly, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but I think it's okay to share. I mean, one of our biggest advantages is national accounts, and we've seen from the start of this crisis, record national account sales and transaction volume from the beginning. And it's one of those things where we've been able to form those national relationship at a franchisor level that helps all of our owners immediately when they come into the system. And those national accounts, very, very large companies, have really been one of the things that have helped us weather this storm, in addition to like the sales coaches and having access to the best in class platforms like Salesforce that have enabled us to continue to manage these relationships through what is an unprecedented time for us all.
Because of that, does that mean when you guys are facing this crisis and you're going in there, that your franchisees are not as panicked? Are they seizing the opportunity? There are plenty of brands, and we've had plenty of brands on here that sales have declined 90%. So they have a franchisee group that is in complete panic, and then we have some that we had on Wing Zone, that is a delivery and takeout brand, first party delivery, not third party delivery, and their sales have actually gone up. With your franchisees, one, are they saying, thank God I made the right business decision by buying this? And two, is the panic a little bit less because of what you said with the tariffs and other things that they've navigated and the opportunity on the other side?
It's a mix. We have a group of 280 owners, and you do have people who certainly have gone through the change curve differently than others. On the whole, I would say I think you're right. The most of them believe in the model more than ever, and where things that weren't necessarily, to kind of some of the previous points, that the things we would call out about our model that we thought there have always been things that made us special, like the customer service we provide and the level of expertise in our store. But some of the less showy things, like the breadth of product that we carry, the ability to service both channels, have really come to the fore through this for a lot of our owners. And while I think everyone has the same cash concerns, everyone is focused on getting the SBA and government assistance that they can. And we certainly have taken actions from a franchisor standpoint as well to help owners both broadly across the system and on a one-on-one basis to make sure they're in a strong position to keep going. The tone out there is definitely cautious and guarded, but certainly positive that we are still able to serve customers. Our sales are not down. They're certainly not to where we set our 2020 plan, but they are not dire either.
Yeah, it's not an accident that you guys are going to thrive through this, and it's not an accident. I mean, I guess the people we're attracting and having the conversations with are all proactive, but it's just so funny because on the other side of this, franchise sales that focuses on as value or great training or great customer service, those are just platitudes and nonsense that everyone's going to reject on the other side. Conversations about B2B, B2C, national accounts, and even the story of how disruption from tariffs helped us build a new pathway on our supply chain. So everything just gets reevaluated on the other side. And
it's funny. We're in the midst of we were updating our franchise brochure at the same time through all of this, and it's really funny from where we started to where we're at now and where we ended. There's been a lot of edits in the last 2 weeks.
Which is amazing, right? And it must feel good, and it's an earned position, but it must feel good to see the model work the way it should and franchisees weather the storm the way it should, and to be able to look at your franchisees and say there's real value in our system, right?
100%.
So on the flip side, if there isn't that value, the brands are not going to exist, and that's all that's going to be to it. So I mean, it's amazing to see this consistent trend. So you guys, I would imagine your whole website should change on your franchise sales end. Your story should change, everything, right?
Oh, one of the first things we did was update the homepage of the website to reflect that. All stores are open. We're continuing to operate it. We want to talk to you now. And I think there'll be more changes coming that we're actively working on now. You brought up an interesting point about the model of all businesses, and to the earlier conversation about delivery services and that we had before the call started. those things that, whether you're in a restaurant or a retail brand where, you can be flexible, you can be omni, you can serve the customer, whether they want to buy online and pick up in store, and buy online and deliver to their house, have someone, the retail and just, restaurants in general are so fluid and dynamic now in a way they've never been before. You can't just set a model and say customers, this is the only avenue we're going to give to customers. We got to reach them any way that they want. And I think it's really highlighted that across the country. And the brands that can do that
Jon,
already are the ones that are succeeding.
Jon, when you start looking at budget planning or adjustments or the pivoting that's going to happen from a franchise sales standpoint, has your mindset been, let's continue to push down the pedal, that people are going to be looking for an opportunity in this time? Has it been to delay it? Do you expect Q4 to be better? Have you created any expectations in a time like this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, certainly the answer is yes, but they're not. It's hard to say anything set in stone at this point. For right now, I mean, we're from a awareness standpoint, taking both opportunities that we have through our relationship with you all and others to create that brand awareness, because for our brand has very much been a legacy brand, but in a lot of places it's been under the radar. And so taking those opportunities through the good work that our owners are doing and serving customers to kind of bring that to the fore. And my hope is that creates opportunities for more conversations, to your point, later in the year. Right now we are still seeing steady lead flow and having conversations. I think people are going to wait to close deals in some cases, but there's always going to be an opportunity for someone who's willing to take a chance. We had 2 signings a week and a half ago, and I think we'll take those opportunities and to make it happen and keep having conversations as people reach out to us.
I was just on your website, right? And so, I mean, that's pretty powerful, at least at this moment. Your headline of batteries plus stores remain open. So that's, in the moment, that's pretty powerful. And I would imagine as we exit, there's so much more to tell here.
100%.
B2B, B2C, national accounts. I mean, in many ways, holding firm on what you guys do, take, slow and steady. And now, you're a rebooted brand in many ways on the other side.
Well, in one of your guys' conversations earlier last week, I think, when you were speaking to the gentleman at Sylvan, and he talked about building a landing pad, and I think we have an opportunity to build a launch pad right now, and I think that's crucial for us to we got to be in the moment. We got to make sure our current owners are getting all the support they possibly can, but as I think many people you guys have talked to have reiterated, we're all working around the clock, and coming in here to the office, traditional working hours have no meaning right now. It's all about what we can do to help our current owners and make sure we're prepared to come out of this as strong as we possibly can.
I think there's something really interesting in what you said. Obviously, the launch pad is, I completely agree with that. There's going to be a percentage of brands, not all, that say, let's prepare to propel on the other side of this, or rock it up. I think the other interesting thing you said is on the working hours, like the constraints have been removed. And my belief, good and bad, the good is that you have teams that are doing anything possible to protect whatever business they have, and they're bought in fully. And then you have people that are saying, cool, I'm good with this for now, but the second we come back to normalcy, you're going to say, you know what? You didn't increase my pay. I didn't feel safe in here. Sometimes you decreased my salary. And now we're going to shift into this new place that could be perfectly ready for the launch pad, that are like, hey, company, I didn't feel like you protected me during that time, and now I'm going to protect myself, and I'm going to look for a business opportunity. So it's fascinating, because you think about that, when you remove the constraints of the hours, And in many cases, many brands have chose to decrease the percentage of salary. In addition, now all of a sudden you're going to create a storm on the other side of this of human beings that not payback, but they're going to look at life a little bit differently and say, look, if hours are no longer a thing, maybe I look at my own opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. It's the opportunities out there, and when you think about candidates' mindsets, I'm sure you guys have had similar experiences with peers in the industry and just through your network of seeing kind of the impacts of this, and fairly rapid impacts that this has had at businesses across the country. And you will have a ton of people looking for that opportunity. And to kind of shift the perspective a little bit, part of that launch pad or coming out of this on the other side is customers knowing that you're open. So one of the things we've been extremely excited about is we track our customer service scores through Medallia, and we look at it every morning when we get in. And in the past, we've always prided ourselves on having very good customer service scores. Well above the specialty retail index, but right now it's all green. I mean, it is like 5 stars. It is all happy faces. There's very few detractors, and so beyond just candidates and people looking in, we hope we get credit for this with customers long term as well for staying open and being able to serve their needs.
I think you have that opportunity. It's interesting because on your website, there's like an image of a backup battery for a sump pump, right? So now even the conversation for the backup battery for your sump pump becomes very different, right? Because now when you communicate with that list, it's so much more credible because things could be great and could be having a 4th of July barbecue, but hey, let's prepare. Do you have that backup battery? That's tremendous. I think I love the concept, and I've been focused on every day. I tell my team, just building out that landing pad, right? And that's where I'm focused. And we discuss in our meetings having that. I just want to land it safe, and then prepare to grow, right? And get back. And so I love the concept that you've added is going from landing pad to launch pad. And I would challenge your own marketing team that their franchise sales materials should be focused on the launch pad, right, that you're providing them with. So I think that's I think it's a wise way of looking at the opportunity. And for me, I'm just trying to extrapolate. So we're a franchise law firm. So I'm like, we've held steady. We maintained our team. We're over servicing our clients. We're communicating. But every conversation we're having, I'm taking something out of it, whether it's a real estate management company saying, hey, what vendors do we bring in and what extra technology do we add? And to your focus on brand extensions and stuff. And so I think everyone needs to evaluate what is that game-changing opportunity where they need to give that extra value and build that launch pad, right? Because now we need to make that shift. That's great.
Well, and I'm sure it's something you've probably dealt with quite a bit on the real estate side. I mean, part of that launch pad has to be thinking about what is the opportunities out there. And, frankly, with what we're seeing right now, real estate is tremendously important to any franchise's economics. And there's going to be a tremendous opportunity for many people out there to take advantage of landlords in need. And just the real estate, the state of real estate at the end of all this to improve, what could be a very lucrative 10-year investment.
We do have a question that came in that I want to pull up onto the screen. What does everyone think the new business lending environment will be coming out of this? John, you want to start?
I can start. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I think we'd all love one of those. I'm hopeful the government is going to continue to be very business friendly, and that money will continue to stay cheap. And it's great that we have a very business friendly administration right now that I believe will continue to support small business owners into the future and help people get started.
Yeah, so I think short term it's going to be positive. I think there's going to be capital available. I think the SBA is going to over support, and I think that's a good thing, and that has to do with administrations and whatnot. But look, what this crisis taught us is expect the unexpected. So I think short term, it's very good. I don't know. I mean, I know my parents, when they bought a house, they paid 12% interest rates on a mortgage. I know when I bought a house with perfect credit, I paid 8%. We are in a world where, it's just too easy to say, hey, we just printed trillions of dollars. So I have no idea. I think everyone has good intentions. I think short term, if we get out of this soon, I think it's going to be very favorable. But I don't see how longer term, there has to be a dislocation of resources, and interest rates, in my opinion, have to go up down the line. Short term, they're going to go negative, right? Everything's going sub zero, which is unusual. And we're sort of thinking that could be normal too. It's not normal, right? Negative interest rates are a bad sign. I don't know. We're in this imaginary bubble world right now. So I don't know where they're going to go. But I think and I believe we're going to survive and thrive. But in the short term, I think they're going to be very favorable. What happens on the flip side, I have no idea. I just know, I don't think we could keep going with negative interest rates or very low rates.
I think, in a new lending environment, a few things come to mind. One is, I think the qualifications of a business owner are going to change slightly. The reality is you're going to lend banking on the fact that the business is going to be able to pay back the loan, right? So I believe that it's going to get tighter on who can get lending, but it will remain there for those that are viable to be lent to. And then also, you look at brands that are able to show positive growth or positive kickback financially and are able to leverage that SBA loan to then transfer one to a bank when that's making cash and go leverage SBA loan for unit two. Like, I think the definition of a multi-unit operator is going to be important when it comes to franchising in a lending environment. I think operating capital is going to have to come into the discussion more. I believe everybody's net worth is going to be way, so it's going to change the way that investments work and lending is available. So I do think it's going to be different. I agree there is no crystal ball to say this is what it's going to look like. But, and I still say this, that viable businesses connected with viable operators are a sound thing. And maybe that just creates a little bit more guardrails for the franchise industry, that unfortunately there's brands that you have a dime and I can sell you a franchise. My hope is that maybe that changes slightly, and it's not going to be by the industry saying, hurrah, we're changing the way that we're qualifying deals. It's going to be the banks and the lenders saying, here are the parameters for what we're looking for, so that if we hit a rainy day again, we're bringing in the people that can prepare for it.
Yeah, I think that to your point, that management of working capital and just the liquidity somebody has on their books. I think the traditional way of looking at that and how much you can take out of a business versus leave in on the balance sheet will change over time, because this is really proven that people who've had a lot of cash on hand and access to that cash, you can bring a lot on their books in a crisis. Those are the people who are making it right now.
Yeah, look, there's going to have to be flexibility. The word pivot continues to come up, and then there's people and brands that do things the way things have always been done. I wish you the best of luck. You're probably not going to be surviving the other side of this. For those that are saying, hey, we understand that the way we've done things, whether that's relationships with franchisees, to say you're the franchisee, you're not an entrepreneur, keep your opinions to yourself, do not make adjustments. Well, in tomorrow's world, there's going to have to be more collaboration to say, how do we use the best of minds to get through something? So the brands that say, you know what, we're okay with pivoting right now, the brand that we have tomorrow is going to have a little bit of a different story. And the way that we grow is going to be a little bit more defined, where we're bringing on truly people that are going to impact our bottom line through royalty. I think there's going to be a lot of I don't know when it's going to end. And, there's going to be debates on this, that as long as people are still getting sick and as long as there's no cure, then the longer we're going to be put on the sidelines. Therefore, if you have not pivoted your business to be prepared for a long time on the sideline, good luck. Batteries Plus is clearly positioned for that because you're essential and your product serves something that's so important in the community. But when you take a business, take, for argument's sake, the first one that comes to mind, like a Dick's Sporting Goods, they better be pivoting every commerce world online, because that business is not going to be essential for a while, and sports, especially on the local level, is not going to return for a while. So I think this is going to teach us a lot about what is a reliable, sustainable, and effective brand.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, one example I would share is back to the point of things we didn't highlight before that we're definitely going to highlight now is small box versus big box. I think there's always going to be that attractiveness to the big box, premier retail, but I think even my past life at Cabela's previously, and trying to implement something like contactless curbside from a big box standpoint, having to pick items all over a 200,000 square foot store, the logistics of that, I mean, would never be possible over the short term. And we were able to implement it, over the weekend in 48 hours and be ready to go on Monday morning after the declaration of national emergency. And it was a true advantage. And when you say like, we're definitely, and I'm sure everyone is thinking about how long this goes on, and what is the permanent impact of customer behavior, and how can we continue to service them. And it's the having the small box, being able to easily do contactless curbside, but it creates questions that we want to advise people on in the future of. You definitely want dedicated parking. You need to negotiate for this. You definitely got to have a vehicle, maybe two. And it's things like that we're aimed at now, and knowing that there's going to be some impacts of this. And I think grocery is seeing it first with people getting groceries delivered, where it's not necessary to go anymore. You can just pick it up. Someone brings it to your house. It's free. I mean, they wrap it into the cost of product, and I never feel any pain from that. It's fantastic. And I think that'll be more, things like that'll be more and more the norm. And we all have to learn from that, whether you're in retail and restaurants or whatever type of franchise brand you're in.
You guys bring up great points. I mean, even because I mean, it all comes down to brand value and your point, John, right? So now we're ordering food at home. So now the local place that we ordered food that we would never normally order all these things from, that's an opportunity to connect, build that affinity, change our behaviors, and we'll have some permanence. And then extrapolating that, the pattern in all these conversations is the one thing we do know is consumer behavior, everything changes. I'm even going to be counterintuitive here in the sense that I know essential services, essential businesses are important on the flip side, but I also know businesses that are not essential, say restaurants that are closed. If they're focused on the right fundamentals, brand value, franchisee value, cash flow numbers, potential, adjustments to the box size and everything else, there's going to be that big opportunity to disrupt, even though they may be closed right now. So I mean, that it's just amazing to me about there's a demarcation forever. And it's brands that get to the other side and the ones that never will. And that's what's at least the positive aspect of at least the opportunity ahead.
Well, what's really interesting as we think about that, just to continue your thought of being counterintuitive, I think 6 months ago we would have been thinking supply chain, e-commerce, products like what are the very tactical things, and where our heads are at now, and we're going to be we're evaluating some platforms now. It's all about customer communication and connection, and how can I when expertise is such a vital part of our business, how do we get customers access to that in an easier way? And it's been part of the secret sauce of our brain for a long time. And this warehouse of expertise that we have, that we give customers access to through trusted advisors, but how do we get that to customers so they can make a decision and make a purchase? And it's all about that connection to the customer. And it'll be the same way with delivery. And how do you make the economics work on a single item delivery, and make that a reality across the system, and not something that's burdened. Because I think the interesting thing about being in a franchise environment is it's not just about us sitting up here and saying this is a good idea, we should do it. We've got to get 280 owners on board, and it's got to make economic sense for them, because we want them to make a profit. Their profitability is our success, and we constantly have to do that with that in mind.
That's amazing advice, Jon. I'm reflecting on myself, so I'm being selfish for a moment, right? And you're talking about customer communication and connection, right? So even for service industries and service-based businesses, everything changes. I've had so many 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock Zoom calls with clients throughout the country and other countries. Like, that's an important connection that should we never lose sight of that. And then for even reflecting on my own business, what I keep focusing on is how do we surround our clients? And using Nick's term about putting scaffolding around franchisees, it's putting scaffolding around franchisees, customers, clients, even suppliers. That's really what it all comes down to, no matter what the business is.
And to your point, kind of on the connection, things you don't want to lose. I mean, one of the things that I was ruminating on, going to bed the other night late, and was right now is so interesting to me because nothing can wait. Like I think of just how I always thought we were very hard workers, and I think we were, but that definition, that paradigm has completely shifted. The definition has been completely redefined, and we're constantly doing things, and we're not leave until they get done. And it's like, oh, I can't wait till tomorrow. And that's what this crisis has been driving. And I think that's an attitude, as leaders, we want to keep. I mean, certainly within reason, it's still, work-life balance is still important, but connect that. Nothing can wait. With hours no longer matter, or when things get done really no longer matter. It's find your work-life balance in a new, different way. I mean, that's not just between 6 o'clock at night and 7 o'clock in the morning. It's a different definition, and it's something that I think all of us will have to embrace. And it is one good thing that I've enjoyed at being doing this, is like we're making decisions fast, and because it can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, there's such value in what you said. Two things. I love that quote, and I think we need to use it more. Their profitability is our.
Well, we should all have that tattooed someplace.
Yeah, right. That's franchising. And then secondly, I start the hate mail, whoever wants to send it, but I feel like some folks in younger generations, for whatever reason, the concept of work ethic, not work-life balance, and there's plenty of balance, but the work ethic side was not trained, whether that wasn't trained in schooling, college, or by parents. There is a high percentage of younger folks who have not learned a work ethic and responsibility and accountability. And the good of this, the silver lining, is maybe we've maximized it and that we fall somewhere in the middle, but we're no longer down there, right? And that's a good thing out of this. We're going to have people that, excuse my language, but really give a shit on the other side of this. They're going to be there. They're going to be ready to skyrocket up an org chart. They're willing to do what it takes. They're going to start with yes. I'm excited for the workforce. Like, there's going to be a good, like, there's going to be a bad workforce, and a disgruntled one, but the middle is good. Like, there's so much opportunity in that middle,
Absolutely. I mean, I think you're exactly right.
So, Jon, as we hit this final stretch, and there's Charles again. Final thoughts, anything that you want to add as we go out in closing? Jon, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, first, thank you guys for the time. I mean, I've enjoyed the conversation. It's always great to get to talk with experts like you guys, and value the opportunity. Yeah, I think even the big takeaway for me is just it's constantly that balance of you've got to support everyone that is out there right now making it happen, and still transacting, capturing those sales both on retail and commercial channels, but you're building that launch pad both for the growth of our current stores and with new units is something we don't want to lose sight of. And it is being able to be responsive to those changes we see in customer behavior and staying close to that, and both within our franchise community and within retail at large is going to be critically important, because a lot of things have changed and we're going to be thinking about everything differently. It's to your point about work ethic, there's one way to look at, like, oh my gosh, we have to look at everything, and like, oh yeah, yay, we get to look at everything, because really it's almost a fun opportunity where I think leaders in every generation haven't gotten to say, hey, you get to look at every single piece of this model and figure out a new, better way, because that's what's required. So.
John, I appreciate all the insights. It's interesting because if batteries didn't deal with their supply chain issues with tariffs, then they'd be in a bad position right now, right? So, while recession resistant and essential services is important, I'm going to stay counterintuitive and saying more important than that is brand integrity and leadership. And that's what we're seeing every time. And it's, brands need to be proactively focused, like John is, on their landing pad and on their launch pads. And I think that's the opportunity. I really do. But I think it sounds simple, but the integrity that a brand has about its value proposition for its customers and its franchisees, and the management team's focus on it, is going to lead to success, pure and simple. So, John, I'll be interested to see the launch pad for 2020 and 2021.
We'll be sure to share it.
Yeah, please.
And I'll end with this. The work ethic thing is something that I love the story around. When Anthony Trucks was on the other day, he said something that I wrote down, and I think everybody that's been watching these things are saying that the amount of notes that people are taking and ideas that are coming out of this is great. He said you have the tools, the techniques, and the technician. And when you apply a great work ethic on that last part, the technician, to a brand that already has the tools, that's their product, and the techniques, which is how they operate their business, you apply a technician with a strong work ethic, with a mindset for moving forward, with those two things underneath it could truly explode. And I think that's going to be the beauty of this, is we're going to see a lot of great success stories on the other side of this. John and Charles, greatly appreciate the time we got to spend today. To our audience, I hope you got some value out of our conversations. And we're looking forward to yet another one this afternoon. Be sure to check in at Facebook, Franchise Growth Mastermind, and you'll be able to find us. Thank you so much. Take care. Best of luck as you continue to navigate this craziness. Thanks, guys.
Take care,
Thanks.
gentlemen.